Okay, unataka kumaanisha tutashinda hapa the whole day?
Hii gate imeongeza weight.
Hapa ndio ulikuja kutafuta mtoto? Hapana.
Ndugu yangu hapa Alwale, watu walisema kwamba yeye ni kipofu, ati haoni akitoka NASA. Tangu tumpeza macho, si mumeona? Si mumeona?
Mimi nachukua na peleka yote kwa typing kwa computer. Unajua computer?
Mimi najua tu charanga.
Unajua wakale kwa runway wakasema ladies and gentlemen introducing Jepto.
The second phase of the InterSwitch Spark competition has just been completed. The qualifying test determined the best 54 students who will proceed to the next round of the InterSwitch Spark National Science Competition to be aired on NTV. Overall, 1,498 students from across the country registered for the competition, with secondary schools in the Rift Valley registering the highest number of students, 372. The competition has reignited the interest in STEM subjects across the country. InterSwitch Spark National Science Competition will award the winner a scholarship worth 1.5 million shillings, a laptop, signage for their school, while the first and second runners-up will get cash and laptops. Who will be crowned winner at the end of it all? Come with us on this exciting ride. Powered by InterSwitch, transaction solutions you can depend on.
Every day, NTV News Team moves you to the center of the action.
The security forces who took part in this operation.
Police are not taking anything to chance.
Moves you to the heart of the story to witness and record history.
Rendering the declared results null and void.
Telling the story of Kenya.
The growing importance of border in Mandera.
Matatus will be on strike.
And beyond.
The politics in the United States capital.
It is the 7th edition of the Global Education taking place in Dubai.
When it comes to business, we crunch the numbers and unpack the detail with the latest information for your investment decision.
It's time to say goodbye to this note and karibu to this note.
In order for the manufacturing sector to be elevated from the ground.
Despite the government's promise to create at least 1.3 million jobs.
Moves you fast past the planes and trucks to bring you the triumphs and joys of our great men and women.
Moving stories that touch our hearts.
I didn't know that I could go back to school.
The Back to School program has brought hope to these young mothers.
NTV News. News that moves you.
Delicious International Food and Music Festival, brought to you by Delicious East Africa and Nation Media Group. To sponsor this event, please call us today.
Ilizae kama ajalema.
Serikali leta dawa gani?
It's almost a year, nothing has been done.
I just need some form of information.
Dr. Mugo Wairimu first hit the headlines when a video clip showing him raping an unconscious female patient in his clinic.
Wale wanaohusika pia wanajulikana lakini hawashikwi.
With the puzzle surrounding the sugar saga yet to be cleared.
How many times were you sexually abused?
Like 3 times.
How was a convicted child molester allowed to set up a children's home in the country?
NTV News. Bold, balanced, authoritative. This is NTV.
The verdict is in, and Alfred Mutua of Machakos is officially, at least according to the reports, the best performing governor. I know you may disagree or agree with this. All Africa Advisory Survey also listed the Council of Governors chairperson as Wycliffe Ambetsa Paranya, who is also the governor of Kakamega County, as the second best performer. Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Makueni Governor Kivuta Kibwana, and Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho emerged in third, fourth, and fifth positions respectively. At the bottom is Ferdinand Waititu of Kiambu. And by the way, that's the president's county. Now, this report will definitely elicit passion the same way Kibra has. And tonight we introduce you to some of the candidates. Later, they reflect on the cartoon of the week and on Time Bar, back in time, years before any of these candidates ever thought their names will be on the ballot for that constituency. But first, it's my take. And in recent times, the judiciary has been roundly criticized for obstructing the war against corruption. It is slow in making decisions and forcing sanctions on culprits. Opinions may be divided, but one of the reasons for this is lack of capacity. The judiciary is understaffed and therefore unable to conclude cases promptly and guarantee effective administration of justice. Certainly, there are various other causes which ought to be tackled. Now, some 2 months ago, the Judicial Service Commission sent a list of 10 names to President Kenyatta to be appointed judges of the Court of Appeal, and later another 33 to be picked to work in various courts with the overall objective of raising the numbers of judicial officials to deal with the numerous pending cases. And ultimately, the goal is to expedite the process of disposing of suits, hence boost the justice system. However, the president has not made any appointment since. Now, this may indicate that he has reservations or that he's just too busy and unable to spare any moment to check and sign off the list of nominees. Whatever the case it derails the court process and by extension undermines the justice system. Now, a couple of weeks ago also, the Chief Justice David Maraga reported that the judiciary had drastically cut pending cases above 5 years from 110,000 to just 15,000 in under 1 year, and the goal was to clear the remaining by end of this year. Now, that is quite impressive to say the least, and illustrates that when it commits itself, the judiciary is able to dispense with all the cases backlog. But this momentum cannot be maintained without adequate court officers. Tied to that is proper funding to secure resources that can enhance arbitration. Expansion of the judiciary remains one of the major challenges for the government because it provides a strong foundation to democracy and the rule of law. As currently constituted, the courts are few and far apart. Lower courts that handle the bulk of the suits are insufficient and their expansion is slow due to the shortage of judicial officers. Now, this is why quick action is required to beef up staffing at the judiciary. And it's not enough to fault the judiciary for slow adjudication of cases when it's poorly resourced. If there are questions about the nominees, it is incumbent on President Kenyatta to make a determination and advise accordingly. Otherwise, he should appoint the judges and expand the capabilities of the courts to deal quickly and effectively with lawsuits. And tonight, we borrow our quote from Ronald Reagan, an American politician who served as the 40th president of the United States, 1981 to 1989. He says the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. Well, my guests tonight, Malesen Hamida, Eliud Owalo, Hamisa Bitichi, and Elijah Nyamwamu. My name is Ken Mijungu. Welcome to our program tonight. Join the conversation online. As always, the hashtag is Sidebar. At NTV Kenya, at Sidebar NTV, at Ken Mijungu. Sidebar begins right now.
The next member of parliament for Kibra will be ODM. Ningeomba tusemishe baba.
The great people of Kibra, the battle is ahead of us.
Lakini mkiweka mjumbe wa Jubilee atakuwa akisema unataka deni gani? Tick. Sasa Mariga will become an additional problem to the people of Kibra.
sad because I'm a registered voter and they can't find me in the register.
The complainant is duly registered as a voter.
Walo, mimi nataka kupitia kwake tuweke ODM kando, tuweke Jubilee chini kwa uwanja.
This is where the real conversation happens.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. And just a few minutes of introduction because you're all candidates for the Kibra by-election. Yes. I'm going to teach to introduce yourself, not in terms of names. I know you say I've had your name wrong, but just in terms of how you have come to run for Kibra by-election. Let me begin with the only lady.
Yes, I'm Hamida Malasen from Kibra, born, raised, and work in Kibra, founder Mazingira Women Initiative, and environmentalist in Kibra and human rights activist. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Butichi Hamisi, born in Kibra, Lindi, in particular, Lindi Ward. Studied to the level of getting a master's degree in engineering, civil engineering. Married in Kibra, from the Kibra community. And this year I'm vying for that seat in 2019 as a member of parliament for Kibra. I know my presence here is most unlikely, but
why is it unlikely? You're on the table.
Yes,
Why is it
we are
unlikely?
on the table.
Yes.
This represents the youth of Kibra, those who stay in Kibra.
Trust me, even the youth have a seat on this table.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm here for them.
Okay, for the youth.
Yeah.
Eliud.
Good. My name is Eliud Owalo. By profession, I'm a management consultant. Kibra was my first point of call when I came to Nairobi for the first time in the year 1989. So I've got sentimental attachment to that constituency. More so the challenges that people face.
Okay.
And of course, the desirable strategic responses to those challenges.
All right. And it's worth noting that you wanted to run for this seat a few years ago.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but
yeah,
you did not run
in the
eventually.
year 2017.
2017 after you didn't get the ODM nomination.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Yeah, my name is Elijah Abusa Nyamwamu from Kenya. I live in Kibra. And at the same time, I have business in Kibra. Because of that, I've interacted with many youths in Kibra. And I'm willing to work with them because I understand their problems.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. And from the onset, we'd like to state this. We invited everyone on the table, including the ODM candidate, who we were told we cannot have together with this panel, that he has to have a seat on this table alone. Unfortunately, we could not bend the rules of Sidebar, so he was not able to come because ODM wanted the candidate to be on this table alone. We also invited the Jubilee candidate, McDonald Mariga, who unfortunately we have been trying to contact for the last 2 days. We've not been able to have contact with Mariga. That's the reason why he's not on the table. But you are equal to the task.
Thank you.
Okay. You're all equal to the task.
Thank you.
Let's begin our discussion this evening with your visions, because we feel, apart from Eliud, who wanted to run for Kibra, perhaps there's a feeling that you saw a void. Let me begin with Elijah. You saw a void that you thought you can fill. Is that the truth why you're running for Kibra?
Yes, okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. In fact, I thought I can run for Kibra by election 2019 because as I said before, that I've worked with the people of Kibra, especially in the transport section. And I've been working with the youths and very many people there. Now I thought it's a good high time for me to run for this seat because I want to change the lives of our people.
Okay. So you saw an opportunity that you thought you could get in. So is this the first time you ever thought of running, or being a resident of Kibera, you ever thought of running for this seat?
Okay, it's the first time. But I've been a member of NAC Kenya for very many years.
Okay.
But this is the first time I thought that I should run for this by-election.
This is the first time.
Yeah,
Let me speak to the only lady.
Yes.
What informed your decision to run for Kibra?
Actually, the challenges that we've seen in Kibra is actually what made me to come up with that decision to actually vie. There is a void indeed, as you stated earlier. There is a void in terms of empowerment, youth empowerment, women empowerment, of which there is part of environmental conservation. We have a challenge in Kibra on environmental matters. Solid waste management, although it is a county government responsibility, but it is something that I'm passionate about of which I put so much emphasis because with the environmental conservation, solid waste management, recycling, reusing and reducing, there's a lot of opportunities in recycling. And also on matters social justice. We currently in Kibra, we have challenges on human rights issues, myriad of challenges. And I felt personally, of which the party that I'm vying on has an ideology of actually social justice. Social justice entail human rights issues, the women's rights, the men's rights, the children's rights, and also the elderly and the women and mostly people living with disabilities. Yes.
Okay, but you sound as if you want to do everything for Kibra. Even the things that you mentioned there, some don't even fall within the ambit of a member of parliament.
Yes, I know. I know, for instance, the health matters, but the county government and the national government work in consultations and they work in coordination under the constitution. So the issue of health can actually be worked in coordination with the national government to ensure that we actually have a hospital, of which within the community, within the informal settlement, the nearest hospital is actually Mbagathi.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hamisa.
Hamisi, yes.
Okay.
I want to get my names right. Okay. Picking from my sister.
No, it's just yours. Don't pick from her.
I'm picking conversation from where she left.
Yes.
So I can continue. First of all, there is a void in Kibra at the moment. And Ken, having been born in Kibra and brought up in Kibra like me, he valued so much education. So I'm saying that when I'm running for this ticket, the first priority is to prioritize issues of education. It is education that is making me sit here on this table today to discuss issues for that peasant kid who lives in Kibra. Number two, I'm a civil engineer, and in my movement within Nairobi, within projects, I've interacted so much with these casual laborers who come mostly from the informal settlements, what we call in Kiswahili watu wa mjengo. These are sectors that I've looked at, and it has so much potential to the youth.
Okay.
Because from this casual labor, we can develop a system in which these casual laborers can transform into artisans and later on transform into small-scale contractors. And this happens in other countries. If you look at a country like South Africa, look at a country like Argentina, these are programs, because this is a sector that has been ignored for quite some time.
Okay.
We concentrate on formal sector and leave out informal sector employment.
Okay.
That's the second issue that I want to handle. And I know once I get to Parliament, I'll come up with the legislation to be able to protect these kind of staff, these kind of people who work in informal sector of Mujengo.
Okay.
Thirdly is about employment. National government has brought a lot of projects within Kibra. But unfortunately, if you look at those projects, most of the projects we get contractors who come in and they come with everything, including even subcontractors, things that can be done by our local youth. Things to do with cleaning of drainage. You don't have to engage a contractor to come and clean drainage within Kibra. These are things that we can do as piecemeal, the youth within Kibra, to create employment within Kibra.
Okay.
Number four is the issue of inclusivity. This is the issue that people are talking about in Kibra right now. Since independence, or for the last 30 years, there is the politics of exclusion within Kibra. In Kibra, we have 44 tribes of Kenya living there. Every tribe lives in Kibra. But there has been a practice of politics of exclusion of certain tribes. We are saying that this year, Kiberians, people living in Kibra, they live as one when there are issues. But when it comes to politics, we start trading on tribal lines.
Okay.
So I'm vying on that promise that we are going to unite all people of Kibra. Masai should feel safe in Kibra. Kikuyu should feel safe in Kibra. Aluya should feel safe in Kibra. Jaluo should
everyone who lives there should feel safe.
Will come to the table,
okay.
And whatever we have on the table, we'll be able to distribute equitably.
Okay. You also sound like you have your plan drawn out and you have a lot of things you want to do for the for the constituency. I'm just wondering, what the people, especially on education, we know Ken did a lot of work on education, but you still think there are things that you can do on education?
There are things we can improve on.
Okay, you can improve on. Let me speak to Eliud. Your vision for Kibra, it's not the first time you're running for this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, Ken, I believe we need a paradigm shift in our approach and agenda for Kibra. Kibra is a victim, if you ask me, of doing the same things year in, year out, yet expecting different results. We have been assuming as a country that once we have economic growth at the macro level, there will be a trickle-down effect to the common mwananchi, which translates into an increase in the standards of living of the people because of enhanced purchasing power of the population. That assumption no longer holds water. So I've got a radical transformation agenda for this constituency. I believe that Kibra deserves better and needs an agent of change, and I believe I'm the agent for that change.
The agent of that change, okay.
What then do I want to do? I want to deploy the direct empowerment approach to the people. Rather than wait for a trickle-down effect for the macro level, I want to adapt an approach that would ensure that we directly empower the people through job and wealth creation, creating an enabling environment for our youth to exploit their full potential, so that based on an increase on the purchasing power of the people and the disposable incomes of the people, that then translates into an increase in the level of economic growth at macro level. So instead of adapting a top-down approach, I want to adapt a bottoms-up approach.
Okay.
Let us empower the people at the grassroots and let that translate into economic growth and development.
Okay. Have you lived in Kibera yourself?
Yes, that was my first point of call, as I mentioned. I first went to Nairobi for the first time in the year 1989.
Yes.
That's where I lived.
That's where
I understand the challenges there. And to date, I maintain strong links
within
that constituency.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned some of the things that people have been doing things same way and expecting different results.
Yes.
Bwana Dowalo, my friend, has been part of this system for the last 10 years or so.
Which
system of Kibra management, because he's been a strategist, senior strategist from Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, and ODM has been the party which has been running management affairs of Kibra.
Yes.
So when you talk of paradigm shift, I wonder, because you've been part of it, unless now you've transformed and you're seeing things differently, then you have to tell us. And then you said Kibra was his first point of settlement. I want to say that this was just a transit for you.
Okay.
It was a transit point for everybody who comes from the village. He settles somewhere and then he finds somewhere. But there are those people who are born within Kibra.
Yes.
They have land in Kibra.
Do you live in Kibra?
Myself. I left Kibra in 2014 and I just went to Langata.
Okay.
The neighboring.
So you're still part of it?
Yeah, I'm still part of it.
Okay.
And I left there because I was employed by government and I was transferred out of Nairobi.
Okay.
But if it were not for that, I would still be there.
Very important question. So you have been part of the system that is clarified. Former Prime Minister, member of Kibera constituency, he represented the constituency for quite a long time. Part of the political organization, strategy, all those things. What is it that you think you want to bring in that you couldn't bring in at that time?
The issues I'm talking about, Ken, transcend parochial political enclaves. I'm talking economics here. I'm talking about the lives of the people. And I'm talking about issues policy at macro level, which then impacts on what is happening at the grassroots.
Okay.
So we are not talking party politics here. It's beyond party politics. I'm talking about our approach to economic issues in this country. So it is not anything to do with party politics. No. Granted, I've been part and parcel of ODM at some point by virtue of offering advisory services. But if I'm to be judged based on advisory services which I've offered, then I think I'm equal to the task. I've actually facilitated real change in the lives of corporate entities in this country, be they ministries or parastatals from a strategy perspective.
No, we are talking about the local mwananchi, because your language is so deep on issues of policy policy, issues of theory, but here is that you need to deal with the people of Kibra who have issues, real issues, who don't have jobs, yeah, who every day they walk to the people's gates.
I thought he said about economic empowerment.
Yeah. He hasn't told us how
he's going to do it.
How he's going to do it.
Okay.
We're talking about how.
Yes, let's give him...
Because a policy, anybody can do a policy.
Offer the policy documents.
And the Kenyans are very good in giving policy documents. Yes. But let's talk about how.
Real, okay.
If I'm to answer the how,
yes,
I'll start with issues of youth unemployment, which is a major challenge in Kibra. One thing I would wish to do, if elected member of parliament, is to set up employment centers within all the 5 wards of the constituencies. What are these employment centers or functional units going to do? On one hand, we need to determine the skill sets that we have within the constituency, within our youth and girls who have left school or left colleges. And on the other hand, I expect these employment entities to determine the opportunities that exist in the labor market so that we match the skill set with the opportunities which exist in the labor market.
That's to sort out the unemployment.
Yes. That's just one way of sorting out the unemployment, because we have got so many youth who have got the papers, but they don't know which opportunities exist in the labor market. That is one approach. 2, I want to go the TVET approach. As opposed to the traditional way where you straight way of education, I would wish to adopt a model where we develop TVET center within the constituency to give opportunities to our girls and boys who have left school to pursue short technical courses, which then they can use to acquire relevant skills. We take them through entrepreneurial skills, train them on how to develop business plans, and also facilitate them to acquire finances to start up businesses, which then can have a trickle-down effect.
All right. Yeah. Eliud, I'm going to come to you because we were going to get an opportunity to explain exactly what we intend to do with what we have said.
Yes.
I'd like to come back to you.
Yes.
You mentioned about sorting out the waste mess that is Kibra. We know this is a fundamental problem caused by the housing challenge in Kibra, the space that is available. How are you going to sort it out without sorting the space issue first?
The space issue, actually, the space issue, the space is already occupied. And what we can say is this: there are different programs that are upcoming. The upgrading programs that are already in place in pipeline as per the national government. What I will say is this: within the solid waste issues, whereby we usually term waste is wealth. There's a lot of opportunities within, because locally the youth unemployment issues can be sorted out in the issue of solid waste management. There's a lot of, in fact, there is a company that is coming on board, that is the Astico, is coming on board for the issue of...
Through your intervention or through the intervention?
I'm a stakeholder.
Oh, you're a stakeholder.
I'm a stakeholder.
Right. So you can speak authoritatively about it?
Yes, authoritatively I can speak about it. Because they're coming with the waste issues. There will be an incineration plant, whereby there will be production of energy using the waste that is produced. With the sensitization, at least the issue of solid waste management is going to be sorted out, and we will advocate for the youths actually within Kibra to be employed within the company. And again, on the issue of unemployment, we need practical issues within the society. There's a lot of issues. We have youths with different kind of papers. We need a database. With my leadership, I'll have a database of youths with different expertise and skills. We need that, because we have 2 social standards in Kibra. Upper Hill is part of Kibra. Yeah. We have the informal settlement, and we have the very developed part of Nairobi County, which is the Upper Hill. There's a lot of, we have youths, if at all they have hospitality requirements, qualification. We have the Radisson Blue, which is the highest ranking hotel.
But you can't force Radisson Blue
to employ
the youth.
We are not going to force them. Let them take them for internship. Knocking doors of the
Is your plan, is that included in part of your plan?
It is in part of my plan.
To
with the database that I will have,
yes,
it will be prudent for me
placements.
to yes.
Placements. Okay, we're taking a break, but let me speak to Elijah before we take a break, because we have a lot of time to discuss this. Yes, you are intervening.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to add on what she has said, that she will just be trying to see that those people who have maybe companies and some other things, in the constituency gives our people jobs. You know, that is just like, it's just normal. It's just job seeking. You know, here we are supposed to talk about the real issue. How are we going to create jobs for our people? Okay. Not about seeking jobs. And also my friend talked about employment centers. Employment centers, you are talking about employment centers where people will bring CVs and you will try to look jobs for them. Or maybe you are trying to direct them where they get jobs. Why can't you talk about how you are going to create jobs for your people? Okay. It's not about seeking jobs.
How are you going to create the job? Just in a minute. How are you going to create the jobs? What is your idea?
Yeah, especially youths. We are going to do this. We are going to form groups, and also our youth have some groups in Kibra, of which from those groups we are going to start projects. We are going to empower ourselves. Because seeking jobs is
from what resources?
From what resources?
Yes.
We have youth funds, we have women funds, of which it's provided by the government. And also we have things like loans, and also many other ways of creating employment.
But because you understand Kibra, as a member of parliament, that's not within what you can do, right? Look for loans for the youth. That's not what you do. Apply for loans from the funds.
Yeah,
that's not what you are doing. That's not your work as a member of parliament. You know that.
Yeah, it's not my work. Yes. But when they're in groups, it's easy for us to help them. Because if they're in groups, then we can just create our own employment. We can start projects.
Okay.
Because, you know, that is a slum. We can come up with like car wash and some other things so that we empower our people.
But that's a very traditional way of looking at what the youth need, Elijah.
You know, the thing is,
because you walk around and you see car washes and you think this is what...
No, I'm giving an example, but there is very many things which you can do.
Okay, you have 30 seconds. Including what?
Including upgrading of markets in our constituency.
That's not the work of a member of parliament.
I know it's not the work, but I will work with the county government.
Yes, because
so that when we upgrade, we are going to employ our youth.
Because an MP will be making legislation and
representation. So legislation, but not directly, because the idea I'm getting is that.
Because when you are a representative, it means you can go out and negotiate.
All right.
On behalf of your
people. I am told that we need to take a break. We still have a lot of time. We are going to discuss this. All right.
All right.
Stay with us. We're taking a short break. Keep your comments coming. If you live in Kibra constituency and you want to have a question, because any of these guys on the table tonight could be your member of parliament. Any of them could be a member. Yes. Yeah, one of you could be a member of parliament. So, the lady will be the member of parliament. So we're coming back, so keep your comments coming. We'll share some of them and we'll be scrolling them at the bottom. Remember, our new Twitter handle is at Sidebar NTV, so you can also use that handle. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Extraordinary could be right there in front of you, without you even knowing it. It's something unique, rich and rewarding, full of character, a bold expression of flavor like no other. Experience extraordinary. Guinness, made of more.
Mama, how can I be a champion runner?
Well, you've got to be like a geisha ball. Stay strong and go so far. Be strong and last long.
Like geisha.
Kama unaniamini na kifunguo ya nyumba mpaka kifunguo ya bedroom yako kwa nini?
Shut up. Unajua if my husband discovers you're the one who cleans my bedroom atafurahia.
Hapa ni Nairobi my friend. Ile ujinga ulikuwa unaniletea Kisii.
But my mommy says lying is not good.
Umeacha ule watu wako pale. Mimi ndo unanikujia peke yangu hapa. Wametumwa na katelo wanafuata kila mahali. Unataka ninywe hizi dread juu ya heartbreak. Unaziona na wewe si ndio? Ni rahisi kunijua si ngumu. Just link on my bio.
Mimi nataka kutoshana na wewe. Bulldozer.
Shifira, I am proportional.
Your circumference. Get the difference.
Yeah, let's give it a try.
When it comes to pimple care, Acne's Creamy Wash contains multiple vitamins and removes excessive oil and dirt. Use mentholatum acnes for clear and smooth skin every day.
Extraordinary could be right there in front of you without you even knowing it. It's something unique, rich and rewarding, full of character. A bold expression of flavor like no other. Experience extraordinary. Guinness, made of more.
And we are back. The race for Kibra is on to replace Ken Okoth, who everyone speaks about him in a way that at the end of the day shows that he did some good work. So the ladies and gentlemen on the table this evening would really want to replace Ken Okoth. And I have Malasen Hamida, who is from UGM, United Green Movement Party, that is. Then we have Hamisi Butichi. I hope I got it right now.
Yes, that's okay.
From Fort Kenya.
Ramadan.
I'll call you Ramadan. That's even easier. Eliud Owalo, who's the ANC candidate, and Elijah Nyamwamu, who's NAC Kenya candidate. And of course, there are other candidates. As we mentioned, Jubilee has McDonald Mariga, who's a footballer, Editor Achieng from Ukweli Party, and Benson Okoth from the ODM Party, who we invited, apart from Editor, who is in Kisumu. We invited the rest, but they were not able to make it. So let's bring back the conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, we've spoken about a lot about your plans.
Yes.
You have spoken about the plans, but the people who are watching are wondering, before today, before 2019 occurred, what have you done for them? And let me begin with the lady again, because it's not just about what you want to do, but what you have done for them. Then I'll get back to that conversation.
Okay.
What have you done for Kibra?
Thank you. I vied in 2017.
Oh, you also vied?
Yes, I did.
You should have told us that so that we correct it. Yes.
Okay, I'm telling you now. I vied on a Jubilee ticket, and I had a manifesto. I had a manifesto whereby at the third article...
Pork, it was like pork in a mosque.
2017. Okay.
Jubilee.
The third article within my manifesto was actually water sanitation and environmental conservation. So immediately, as politicians, as you all know, the votes are usually not enough. We are not defeated. As politicians, the votes usually is not enough. When the votes were not enough, I decided to come back to the community and do what I love the most, environmental matters. So since 2018, I've been on environmental conservation in Kibra. That is when I started cleanups and growing trees, not planting trees, growing trees within the schools, within the spaces within Kibra, and actually training people on climate change.
Okay.
Yes, action. So that is what I've been doing. I have an organization of which I decided to rope in women. Because women are, okay, I don't want to be biased, I'm a woman and a mother for that matter, but a majority of waste is usually produced from the kitchen level. Okay. So if at all women are not going to be engaged on solid waste management, they'll be left out, and by the end of the day, the youths will actually be coming outside the home to pick up the waste. So that is why I roped in the women to actually take charge of the waste management in Kibra.
Okay.
So that is what I've been doing all through.
How big was your intervention? How big was what you were doing for Kibra? How big was it? Was it felt across Kibra?
It was really felt
okay.
to the level that I actually got some of the awards. I got the IANA award on community service category in Kibra. I had an opportunity to actually represent my country and even my team to the COP24 forum in Poland, Warsaw, on climate change.
That's on a personal level, or because of what you did for Kibra?
Because of what I did.
For Kibra.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So thank you, Brother Mijungu.
Ramadan. Yes, now I get it.
I have a long history with Kibra.
Yes.
First of all,
just make it really short but very concrete.
Yes. I remember when I graduated from the university, 2008. That's when I graduated from JKU. I stayed in Lindi, and I worked on Ngong Road. So I developed a program of tuition to Karanja. There's a secondary school on Karanja Road, where I would pass in the evening. You can call those teachers and ask them. I would pass there and tutor students in mathematics for free. I didn't do it for money. It was not a consultant job or payment job. I did it for free. That is number one. Number two, I was employed by government under Kenya Urban Roads Authority, and I was in charge of Langata area plus Ngong Road. The tarmac you see in Kibra today, from Lokot to Makina Mosque to Lindi to Hiras, then from Kambimuru to Mashimoni to Hiras, that is a project that I pioneered myself together with Mheshimiwa Gore. Then he was the councillor. I pushed. Before then, people didn't know that roads were supposed to be in Kibra, but I was sitting at the table of management and decision making.
Okay.
I made that decision deliberately to benefit people of Kibra with tarmac.
Okay.
Number 3, I work within Nairobi and outside Nairobi in road sector and the building sector. Whenever there is any opportunity, you can ask those boys who do Mijungu in Kibra. Whenever there is any opportunity for apprentice job or casual job outside Nairobi, I come to Kibra and pick from a pool of Kibra youth whom I take for job. This has been going on. Even right now, we have 20 who are already out of Kibra working on a project.
Okay.
I've never looked elsewhere when there is an opportunity in the building sector.
Okay.
So in summary, those are things I've done.
Okay.
I was also a pioneer of a group called Albayan group within Lindi, which is a social group that makes sure that the young ones who are not privileged to have school fees, we've created madrasa within that Albayan, and also formal education from kindergarten to class 3.
Okay.
I was one of the founders, and we are still funding it. We want to develop it up to class 8 so that we raise upright students where they learn religion. At the same time, they're also learning about the other education, what we call dunya.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bit. Yes, Ali.
Okay. Yeah, I've directly facilitated the training of almost 1,000 youth in driving school in Nairobi. When I first got interest in helping the youth in Kibra, I sponsored, using my own personal resources, and this is in the public domain, youth to pursue driving courses, and also subsequent to that facilitate them to get employment using my little contacts as a private sector citizen. So that have done to the satisfaction of the Kibra residents. 2, I've stopped land grabbing in that constituency. I played my part in stopping land grabbing. Land grabbing is a major challenge, especially for markets in that constituencies. There are instances where I've personally used my own resources to stand with traders in markets in that constituency to pay for litigation so that we thwart land grabbing. A case in point is the case of Toi market. If it were not for me, perhaps they would not be in that market today. That is an initiative which I'm proud of. When it comes to youth and women empowerment, I've helped many youth groups to start income-generating projects, same to women. And I've also pursued a welfare program for the aged, who are actually now supposed to be transitioning to the villages to be able to raise money so that they are able to come up with income-generating projects in old age. So those are tangible initiatives which I've done as a private citizen, not as an employee of a government entity.
Okay.
As my friend Engineer Ramadan is talking about.
But you are an employee of ODM, you are getting a salary from...
I need to go to Elijah before we come to the debate on that. No.
Before you move.
I will have to move. I will have to move.
There is something I wanted to...
You will come back to that to open the debate.
On issue of land grabbing.
You will come back to that to challenge it. No, it will not escape your mind. I'll remind you. But I need to be fair to Elijah to state what he has done. Then we open the debate because everyone needs to challenge what the other has done.
Yes. Okay, as I said before, I've been involved in some businesses in Kibra, and that is a transport business. And I've interacted with very many youths, and I have employed very many youths. That is direct or indirect. And then in that, I've helped people, some people in Kibra, those ones who are not able to pay for NHIF. You know, you get that there are some other people who cannot raise NHIF because it's just 500 per month. Okay. And I've helped some few people to register for NHIF, and I've paid for maybe for some months for them to just continue with that.
Okay. Give us the numbers. How many people Have you paid?
Around 50.
Around 50 people.
Using my
NHIF.
own money,
Monthly.
and I've never been employed by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, and then those under transport, again, have been having very many conductors who are willing to be drivers, but they don't have money. And I've paid for their driving school, and they are successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if you are watching, just like Habib Omar, who's watching, and wants me to ask Eliud Owalo, how are you going to purchase the firefighting vehicles that you put up? The 5 for everyone.
First of all, let me clarify something. The CDF funding is a drop in the ocean compared to what a constituency in Nairobi needs to facilitate real change in the lives of the people. There is this notion that development within the constituency is confined to CDF. The transformation agenda I have for this constituency cannot be done using CDF funds alone.
Public funds, yes.
No. I've got networks which I intend to use to tap into helping the people of Kibra.
Including by the firefight.
Yes.
Fire engines.
So
Okay.
one,
yes.
and this is
I just
something
wanted that simple answer on that.
Yeah, because he says, you know, he has a wide network. And I know Walo is a very senior citizen of this country. He's somebody who has networks, but he has not done this before. So why are you saying that once you become a member of parliament, now you use those networks to activate them?
Okay.
You should have used them.
Okay.
Number 2, on the issue of land grabbing.
Yes,
I want to put him in his place. Because I've been in Kibra for the longest time. There is land that was grabbed by ODM in Lindi. And I remember when we were growing, that place used to have a lot of goats.
How do you know it was grabbed by ODM?
They built an office there.
So how do you know they grabbed it?
Yes, they grabbed it because there was a person there who used to have his goats there. They removed him from there. They put up an office, a permanent one. In fact, a storied one.
ODM as ODM.
As ODM office. He was the strategist. I think he planned this. Number 2, there are those grabbings which happened after 2007. People within Sarangombe, landlords, were evicted based on where they come from. This was done by ODM. People were evicted.
Okay.
Landlords were evicted. People took over their houses. Now, when you tell us that you've been protecting land grabbing, my friend, you are lying to people of Kibra. Because this ODM office was demolished last year when the bypass, the road that they're building from Langata Road to Ngong Road, when it came up, that's when it went down. But they had established their office, a permanent office, 2 stories, I think 1 story.
Okay, that is that. Even before you go to Elio to answer that,
yes.
There's a question from you from Nicholas Meli. He says, are you passionate about Kibra or Ikolomani?
Passionate about Kibra.
Not Ikolomani?
Not Ikolomani.
Okay, that answer.
Everybody comes from somewhere.
That's okay.
Yeah. First of all, I want to put it on record that I'm not holding brief for
ODM at all. I wanted to say that.
Yeah. But he has been.
But it's your history.
He has been ODM
an opportunity now.
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. That's when he ceased to be ODM.
All right, now he's an ANC.
Yes. Can he be a good listener? And because
I'm listening.
Yes,
you're
a professional senior, you should listen when I'm talking.
I'm daddy in Kibra, matters Kibra. I'm daddy.
Ramadan.
One, I wanted to go on record that I'm not here to hold brief for ODM. That is one. 2, I also want to put the record straight that I've never been employed by ODM. And that I've worked for the party leader of ODM, but as head of his presidential campaign secretariat. I've never been employed by ODM, so that should be on record. 2, issues to do with land grabbing, which he purportedly says that ODM could have gotten involved in. I'll leave that to the ODM as a party to answer and respond to. Because even when I was working for the former Prime Minister, that was not part of my brief. ODM matters was not part of my brief. I was responsible for issues to do with the presidential campaign.
But Mijungu, he just said that he has been a defender
against that's where I'm going to. That's where I'm going to. That's where I'm going to. I've given you a practical example where, as a private citizen in this country, I've gone ahead and helped the people of Toy Market to stop grabbing of that land. As a private citizen, not as an employee of a public entity, taking advantage of my position in that public entity to perhaps divert resources towards a given direction. I've never done that. For record also, I've never been employed by anybody in life. I've been in the private sector throughout. Now, having said that, if you give me the opportunity to talk about what I want to do for the people. One, The first thing is to streamline CDF upon being elected. We have a situation where the Constituency Development Fund Committee is full of nepotism, relatives of the sitting MP or people from the MP's tribe. If elected, I want to ensure that there's inclusivity in the CDF so that we have got all the members of the Kibra community feeling part and parcel of that CDF. That is one. Two, on bursaries, I want to lift the level of bursaries from the current 5,000 shillings per student to 10,000 shillings per student. And I also want to do this in a sustainable manner, not giving a student bursary this term, then the following term there is no money. If we pick, for example, a student in Form 1, we should be able to train this student up to Form 4. We would rather train or facilitate the education of fewer students, but in a sustainable manner. That is two. Three, youth employment. I'll set up a TVET center, a functional operational entity that will be training our youth and girls in technical and vocational courses. Issues like plumbing, issues like tailoring, issues like carpentry, and then we help them acquire the entrepreneurial skills and also the resources to start up businesses so that they become employers as opposed to employees of corporate entities. That is one way of alleviating the youth unemployment.
Okay.
On women, on women empowerment, I want to establish a revolving fund using my networks so that we have got a fund from which the women of Kibra can be able to get resources, put it into their businesses, and then pay back.
Okay, yes. That's a question he raised. Before I'm coming to you, that's a question he raised. You've had this network all this while. Why haven't Kibra felt your network?
But I'm already doing it at a personal level.
Number two, Pia Owalo.
I'm the one asking the questions right now.
Yeah,
you're going to
intervene. My friend is so preoccupied with Owalo. I think he's suffering from Owalo for me. Because it's easy, give us
all right. I am told we need to take the last break. I promise you this is the last break.
Yes.
But just 30 seconds. What did you want to say? Oh, well, I'll come back to you.
What I wanted to say, partially I will underpin what Butichi was saying, Ramadan. The issue of the people whose homes have been grabbed in Sarangombe. We have IDPs up to date. We have women and men actually whose houses were taken over.
These are taken over by who?
I don't know. Destroyed.
They were grabbed.
They were grabbed. And these people exist. Okay?
Yes.
And the issue of bursary, if we will say, okay, Mr. Wallo, the issue of bursary, we will add to 10,000. You're going to add. How
is that realistic?
Okay, I'm realizing. No, my director is on my ear.
30 seconds. On the issue of bursary, Owalo, you cannot purport to say that you raise bursary from 5,000 to 10,000. Most of these students within Kibra, they learn on a total budget of around 20,000 in a year as a school fees. So when you say that you want to raise from 5,000 every term to 10,000, where are you going to take the extra money that you're going to pay to schools?
Okay, great. Owalo, you're coming to answer that question. Time now for, yes, I'll come back to you. And Elijah is very quiet. So let's take the last break. When we come back, we still have a lot to speak about here. So stay with Sidebar and keep your comments coming. We'll be reading some of them.
in Senegal to find out why so many entrepreneurs are increasingly turning to co-working spaces.
Are you planning to take a loan, or are you servicing one already? The problem is many citizens are becoming prisoners of these systems.
And do you have any regrets? Like, would you change anything?
That's how we wanted our ideal magical wedding to look like.
Welcome to Turkana University College. Turkana University is a center of research, innovation, and technological development. Apply now for our January, May, and September intakes. Turkana University, the cradle of knowledge. From the heart of Nairobi.
What have we do to get your love?
To the waters of Lake Nakuru.
Give you all I got, but it's not enough for you.
Angelina.
Where are we headed as a country?
Every time we make a step forward, we do two backwards.
Any fool with huge amounts of money can be president of this country. It is no longer about service.
Why can't we move these people out and find somebody who can make the right decision for the country?
You're the experts, you can tell me.
We have to change the way we arrive at our leaders. We have to.
Organized crime, terrorism, and corruption, they're really siblings.
We don't need 10 cases. We just need 2 cases done properly, and it will serve a lesson.
Justice can only be found if I prosecute what I have claimed, bring the evidence, and say this man is guilty.
AM Live, every weekday morning on NTV.
Right, we are back with the candidates for the Kibra by-election occasioned by the death of Ken Okoth. And incidentally, ODM, they are watching. They refuse to come on the table, but Sifuna is watching. And I see his tweet. He's asking, we are saying that ODM refused. Where are the other candidates? It's not only ODM. But you see, we invited ODM. You should have come here to respond on the table, but not on Twitter. That was just a side comment. Let me go to one.
Yes. There's something which may appear very basic, but it's a major challenge.
I hope it's addressing his concerns also.
Yes, yes, it addresses his concerns.
Yes.
Now, something very basic, but a fundamental problem in Kibra is the issue of how to transport families home, our loved ones home when they pass on. It's a big problem, and I want to address it. And in this vein, I want to...
Are we done with the bursary?
No, we are not. Okay.
We want the bursary first.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. The bursary issue, first of all, I've said, and I want to repeat, that CDF is a drop in the ocean compared to what a constituency requires in terms of financial outlay to be able to drive a transformative agenda. But having said that, let us not preoccupy our minds with getting money from CDF for anything that we want to undertake within the constituency. I want to establish a foundation that will be used to augment the efforts through the CDF in the education agenda. Now, my friend, Engineer Ramadan, has talked about 10,000 shillings being too much for a student. I'm talking about 10,000 shillings every year, minimum. That is enough to sustain the education of a student. If we take a student...
But then you'll have underperformed compared to Ken, because Ken was giving 5,000 per term.
It was not sustainable.
5,000 per term in a year, that's
I think this is his. That was Ken.
That was Ken.
But you said it's going to enhance CDF funding. So now when you drop it from 15 to 10,000...
What was happening?
That's not enhancing. We cannot compare with that. That's his.
That is not
his agenda. Then you can...
What was happening during the tenure of my good friend Ken, whom I have a lot of respect for, is that a student would get 5,000 shillings this term. It is not definite that he gets it the next term, and perhaps he may not get it in third term.
Okay.
So he ends up with 5,000 shillings in a year. I want to have a straight 10,000 shillings every year.
It's 100 million per constituency, right?
Yes.
More than
100.
Yes.
If you divide
and
them
I'm not talking about getting this money solely from CDF. I've said I'm going to set up a foundation that will augment the CDF efforts in the educational agenda.
Okay. Okay.
Two, one of the biggest challenges the people of Kibra face is how to transport the bodies of their loved ones home when they pass on. It may sound very basic, but it's a fundamental problem. I want to address this by looking for sponsors or donors who can help us have some funeral or welfare buses, which can be used to transport bodies home. Engineer Butichi may not be aware.
No, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Of what?
But I've actually,
yes,
when his own family was stranded with his brother's body, I hired a bus using my personal resources to transport his brother's body home.
We didn't
finish. And then two,
you only came with the ODM brigade. You hired a bus for ODM brigade, which came for the funeral.
I hired a bus to transport
for ODM, not for the body.
To transport his own brother home.
No. Two ourselves.
Okay.
He only hired a bus for ODM brigade. Almost
if he says
60
that,
people.
If he says that, then because it's part of the family,
I'm
yes.
the family.
Let's leave. Yes.
Yeah.
He even promised.
So I'll leave it
even
there.
Before he goes, he even promised when he came for that funeral, because my uncle really worked for him, and even his death was through working for him. He promised that he's going to take care of the 2 kids who are in school.
Which I've done.
You've never given even a single cent.
I've done.
I'm the one taking care of those kids up to now.
I've done.
You've never
this will be
now I understand where they're coming from.
Now it will be sorted out.
He's brought it on the table. We need to discuss it fully. Because you promised, but you've never kept that promise.
So you have your issues.
Like, it's just personal.
Let the ladies
Yes, they have their personal issues. Now we want to know what their parties have in terms of ideology. I am in a new party, UGM, United Green Movement. We have an ideology which is the same aspiration that I have. Youth unemployment, environmental conservation, and social justice. In line with the issue that you said, with the issue of the HAS. Even we, the Muslims, we are in need of that HAS. That one has to be done, and that is what I also have as an agenda.
Yes.
And also, in line with education, which falls under my social justice. Education, we need to have an adult education program, whereby there was a point in time, whereby there was no 100% transition from primary education to secondary. There are those who are actually left out. They went up to the class 8. Some of them even dropped out. We have a new curriculum base, competency-based curriculum, whereby these youths, those who are willing, because in adult education, it's about willingness. They need to undergo the adult education program in order to attain even the basic education. That is one. On issue of revolving fund, I remember you talking about it. The revolving fund, we are aware that women are the ones who are taking the revolving fund. Kenya women, Jamii Bora, and there is even more serious issues women are actually applying on the online loans. That is the Tala, the branch, until to the level whereby when they are supposed to be paying, they are sick. So we have people in Kibra who are mentally ill. There is the CDF fund, whereby the part of the CDF, 2% is for the women empowerment. Why can't they be given as grants?
As grants.
That is a policy issue.
It is a policy issue.
Yes.
It is a policy issue.
Yes,
it has to undergo under the legislation.
We
have the issue of...
is that something you'd want to champion in Parliament?
I want to champion in Parliament. There is issue of the men also. We have a different institution. There is economic recession, that is retrenchment. Telcom Kenya, retrenched people. We have Postal Kenya, they retrenched. 55 years of age, people are retrenched. And the social protection money for the Wazes is usually actually received by men or people with 70 years of age. 55 years.
Okay. Ramadan, I'm going to come to you.
15 years.
Because I've not elaborated on my issues.
15 years of frustrations, whereby there is a whole issue of the boy-child issue. We have men who have got nothing. It's only women with the loans from the chamas. They have monies from the chamas. They are producing. But the men are left out. Unless those who are actually pastors, they have issues or spiritual matters of actually sorting themselves emotionally out. But the men who are actually 55 years of age, 60 years, they are left out. We need a legislation to see whether they can become mentors so that even their self-esteem is actually raised to the level that they can even speak.
Do you think we can legislate self-esteem?
No, we cannot. It is issue of this. Emotional intelligence.
But how do we legislate?
If you're something, you have something. If you have something that you're doing. For instance, somebody who is actually dismissed from work at 55 years of age. We need people to actually
be retiring,
yes,
not
retiring.
Yes, that's retiring.
Yes, we need to have them as mentors, so that institutional memory can be held, and they can be part of the mentors who will be actually talking to the boy child.
Mijungu,
we have issues of the boy child.
I think you made your point. I need to talk to this. Yes.
You asked us how different we are going to do it.
And someone for me here,
Yes.
Onesimus Moli once more
Yes.
says that the 10,000 you're proposing is below what Ken used to give, which was 15,000 per year. That's what I've
I
gotten
said.
from there, yes.
I would want to do things differently in Kibra for education. Number one, I've lived in Kibra and I know all the primary schools within Kibra. I'm reporting to you that 80% of those schools are private schools. You can agree with me that most of the schools run within Kibra, they're run by private entities and organizations, which makes it, which makes education unaffordable to most of the normal student kids, because you'll find the school fees so high. So what I would do, I would want to partner with the national government so that we have more public schools within Kibra.
Okay.
If you can mention, everybody talks about Olympic primary as being one of them. Just a few of them, but 90 or 80% they're run by private entities.
Okay.
So we need to come with a policy within the government, national government, to have more public schools so that the school fees, whatever you're talking as bursaries, can go to other issues, because you find in private sector, private schools, they charge more school fees. That's number one. Number two, there is the issue of transition from primary to secondary and secondary to tertiary or universities.
Okay.
Most of us tend to concentrate on secondary education. But for a kid to be at secondary education, then you need to make sure that primary section is sorted out. This will be sorted out by public establishment of more public schools within Kibra.
Okay.
Number three, there are those kids, because you see when the scaling is being done nationally, everybody's put on the same level. Here is a kid who has a 1 million a day. You expect him to perform so well to join Langata High or to join Upper Hill or Jamhuri.
Yes.
We need to have a negotiation with the government so that the top students or the top kids who perform within Kibra, they are given a special category to enter these schools.
Okay. And you don't think that would be unfair eventually?
Because this is the best we can produce within Kibra. That will be the best in our conditions within Kibra, within the conditions of Kibra.
Very brilliant in terms of education. Let me hear from Elijah, then I come back for it. Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's better you allow me to talk about also my agendas in Kibra,
yes,
of which I never said.
Oh, you
first of all,
okay, go ahead.
First of all, it's education.
Yes.
When you talk about education, I'm going to improve infrastructure using CDF and my network. That is infrastructure. I mean, we have more streams, because when we take an example of a school in Kibra, like Toy Primary School, like Olympic Primary School, we have that there is a congestion in classes. We have very many students there. Maybe we come up with more streams, and also we increase the number of public.
I have been to Olympic. There's no space for more streams in Olympic, unless you go to the field behind them.
I'm talking about Olympic.
Yes.
And when you're talking about there is no space, you know, there is no story buildings there, many of them.
So you pull these ones down and put up
so
story
that
buildings.
you can have more streams.
Okay.
And also we increase the number of public schools in Kibra. Secondly, also about bursaries. I will make sure that no student who is going to miss basic education, that's primary education, because of finances.
Lack of school fees.
Yeah, that is what I'm going to do also.
It's
not about increasing, but you see, what happens here, we have Kibra as a constituency have a lot of people. That's, I'm saying, population density.
Yes.
Now, it means that maybe my friend is talking about increasing from 5,000 to 10,000. Mine, I will just maintain what my friend, the former
15,000.
The 15,000 per year, because you have very many people who are needy. Yeah, a student. Secondly, I move to the second item, which is health. Health is becoming a major issue. I mentioned about NHIF. We'll make sure that our people have NHIF, because there is those people in Kibra who maybe live under 100 shillings a day,
yes,
of which when a person is sick, will not go to the hospital, say, let me drink water and wait, maybe God will perform miracle. And later, the person dies because of just malaria or something else, of which we need to encourage our people and try our best to make sure that they have NHIF, so that they have no problem of going to the hospitals. And again, we have health facilities in Kibra. Those health facilities, they need to be improved, also to offer good services within the constituency, including in Mbagati and some other.
You know, that's not your work.
It's not my work. That is, I'm saying, I'm going to work with the county government.
Is
Yeah, with the county government. And also we are going to make sure that each and every ward, we have dispensaries, because the population, Kibra is congested.
These are cry for everybody.
Yeah, it's a cry.
Elijah, finish.
Yeah. That's another item.
Okay.
And also we need clean water. That is water and sanitation. We need to have public toilets also to be increased, so that because the population is too high. And then another item is about housing. Now, this one I will support the central government in
Big
that
Big Four agenda
about upgrading our housing,
which is happening.
Yeah, and then another item is unemployment, of which I talked earlier that we are going to form
you are
groups
already talking about unemployment.
Yeah.
So yes.
But again, you are just talking about like car wash is just something traditional.
A traditional way of thinking completely. The youth are really mad.
Okay,
that way of thinking.
Let me elaborate on that. You know, there's no way we can promise our people in Kibra that we are going to give them white-collar jobs. It's just about whatever comes first. You have to work. It's not about, like my friend here is an engineer, but he can work anywhere. Yeah, when waiting for opportunities, it's not about you sit and then say, I'm looking for a white-collar job.
Okay, I think your point is made. Yes.
But there's one problem I have with the approach my two friends are taking. Yeah. That any tangible development has to be public sector driven. The public sector today, which is financed by the exchequer, is today cracking under the weight of debt. Most of the resources which is generated through taxation is actually going towards recurrent expenditure. So if we are going to adopt the approach of relying on money from the exchequer,
we are talking. I was talking about public schools.
You will get your time.
In terms of representation, and sharing of national cake.
Yes.
Tell me how many public schools we have in Kibra.
1 minute.
And how many do we have in Stare?
Okay.
Because this cake need to be shared.
Okay.
I wish
that if,
good question.
If we are 100, we have 100 schools in Stare, we should have 100 in Kibra.
Okay. I think
public schools.
Let me finish
in
my
terms
point.
of equitable sharing.
Engineer, then we come to that. Yes, we'll intervene.
Can I finish my point? Yeah. Let us not rely fully and exclusively on the public sector to finance development within the constituencies. The public sector today is cracking under the weight of debt, spiraling debt. And most of the resources generated through fiscal policies like taxation is going towards recurrent expenditure. The government does not have surplus for development expenditure. So the direction we need to take is public-private partnership. We must be creative. We cannot continue with business as usual.
Okay.
We must be creative and
that's
innovative.
Part of the paradigm shift.
Yes, this is part of the paradigm shift. And this thing, if you may allow me just to finish, this thing starts from policy level. And this is one of the reasons, actually, if I may explain why I decided to join the ANC party.
Yes.
Because I believe through the ANC party, we are able to drive an appropriate legislative agenda that, one, would combat corruption, two, control the level of debt, that is effective debt management, yeah, so that we have got prudent management of public resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now you can speak about
You know, my friend here says about that we should not rely on public to finance our issues in Kibra.
Solely.
You know,
solely.
We are saying that when we go to the national table, each constituency, that's why you'll be representative of the people. Whatever resources go to other constituencies, you must make sure, because these teachers in Stare or Makadara, they're being paid by taxes even from us, from Kibra. Why can't we have public schools so that we can use on the issue of bursary to students, that money can be channeled to other programs within the constituency.
Okay.
That is my take.
Okay.
That if we have 100 schools in Stare, let's have even 80 schools in Kibra.
Have you considered where these public schools will be? Are you talking about government buying out private schools?
There is compulsory acquisition
of
as a
schools?
policy.
Of schools?
Not of school, of space.
Of space.
Yeah,
is there even
schools.
space in Kibra to put up?
We have landlords. If you negotiate with them, you'll have.
There is not compulsory acquisition then.
It is compulsory.
No, it will not be.
If it is for private property, if it is for the public
that's different.
interest,
yes.
Then the government can do compulsory acquisition.
No. You can't own private property. That's wrong.
No, it does.
You can't.
Let me ask you, Mijungu.
Yes.
We have a bypass passing through Kibra.
Yes.
How was it done?
Because they will compensate. It's not compulsory.
It's compulsory that the road has to pass there.
It's not.
Compulsory means yes. You take it, but you pay
you compensate.
No, it can also mean that you take...
No.
Because
I'm a
it's
civil
public
engineer and
land.
I've done these things
No,
already.
it doesn't.
We
It doesn't.
acquire
Anyway,
land compulsively,
yes.
pay you out.
Yes.
That's what it means. If it is a negotiation, is whereby the owner of the land can refuse, but you pay him off and build a school. So these are things that can be done.
Okay.
Yes.
I think if personally I was to pursue my legislative agenda and the representation of the Kibra people by looking at how I can attract resources from the central government,
yes,
yeah,
you will fail.
I will fail because I want to.
But that's your work as a representative of that area. That's your work.
I will fail.
You will go and negotiate.
Understand.
You have to go and negotiate with the national government to get the resources to your people. That's why you're a representative.
My friend,
you cannot go to the parliament. No, that's what people do. That's what MPs do. You go and negotiate.
That is why
unless you don't know your
performing.
Unless you don't know your representation role.
But I don't want to look like I'm leaning.
Yes.
He's just said if he was to go to Kibra,
why are you elected?
Rely on public.
Why are you elected?
But,
why are you elected?
But actually, I agree with Owalo.
Yes.
In
terms of raising funds.
In terms of raising
for
funds
development.
and PPP, it is important.
But
because the government,
PPP has not even worked effectively with the national government.
My problem is that
what about the constituents?
Time to speak.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Let my sister
there is
speak.
another issue.
Then we come back to you.
How many PPPs do we have in the country?
Prudent. The PPP is prudent for issues of women empowerment and issues of loans for the women. Not only loans, the grants can be done through PPP. There is another issue that has been raised, or even not even tackled, the issue of drug and substance abuse.
I will talk about that. I will talk once we finish this.
Because
it's a question.
Okay. The issue of drugs and substance abuse.
We'll talk about that. Are you done with your point? Because we were talking about PPP partnership, how to bring more money into Kibra. I think that was fundamental.
Yes.
Yeah. He spoke about partners. He spoke about your partners. Together with your partners, bringing in more money, because that's what we're discussing. What do you have in mind? Which kind of partnerships?
Okay, we have very many NGOs in Kibra. NGOs, that's non-government organizations, which are working with our people in Kibra, of which we are going to work with them. And also, we have companies under corporate social responsibilities. We are going to talk with them, especially what my friend talked about, having buses for funerals and whatever. Those like under corporate social responsibility. That's what you can do. You know, that one is out of registration. But we can just work with NGOs, friends, and other networks.
Okay, that's what you have in mind.
In the same vein, I want to say something.
Yes.
Kibra has got its own unique challenges. But within those challenges, we must see certain opportunities from which we can tap for the benefit of the people. Now, there are people out there who are willing to partner with us to address some of the challenges facing slum areas like Kibra. And they would actually bring in some heavy financial outlay, which surpasses what we can get from the central government. The notion I want my friend engineer Ramadan to run away from is the fact that development can only be initiated through direct intervention by the central government.
I didn't say that.
Because everything is talking about negotiating with central government. Negotiating with central government.
We have fundamental issues.
Yes. Okay, but let me also finish my point. Can I finish?
Really fast, yes. He needs to speak now.
Yeah, can I finish? Yeah. The reason why we have unhealthy political competition in this country is the belief that when somebody is elected, he's going to get resources from the central government. We must move away from that, and we must start electing leaders who are creative and innovative enough to transfer this into tangible change in the lives of
Probably he knows another way, engineer. Yes, you know another way.
He's talked about partnership. We don't disagree with that. But there are those fundamental things that need to be done by government so before you even get support from other stakeholders. In terms of partnerships, I think of a larger network of the construction industry. I understand it in and out. There are those contractors who would want to come to Kibra and invest in the youth of Kibra in terms of apprentice, training, and development of skills. But the opportunity to get there, they don't see somebody who can take them there. I have them on my back. Number of contractors and consultancy firms in terms of civil engineering. These are people who will bring in their investment in terms of manufacturing. Because in Kibra, unlike other areas, informal settlements within Nairobi, we don't even have a small group that makes even blocks, construction blocks. These ones, you see them on the roads everywhere you go. We don't have any company, youth company within Kibra that makes even bricks.
Okay.
Are you seeing? These are things that we want to tap in. We have these small scale businessmen in terms of youth.
Okay.
And
all right.
also,
can we move away from that because our time is...
before we move,
yes.
Before we move away from that, on issue of partnership, there is this issue of the sport Wanja, whereby we have woodly grounds, playing ground. That one, I believe it is important and prudent for actually that partnership we are talking about between the national government and the county government and even the other partners, the donor partners.
Okay.
Because we need the ground to actually be rehabilitated like the Dandora playing ground. Because currently the youths are disillusioned in terms of sports.
Okay.
And actually,
all right, Shelton Odhiambo says this. They talk more about education, bursaries, etc. You've introduced the topic, that's why I'm reading. They never talk about sports. In a country where leaders view sports as secondary, number is wanting. You can't create these opportunities for everyone. We need to get talents tapped. Tell them to wake up. So let's talk about sports. Yes.
In my agenda, I'm thinking of turning both Line Saba and Woodley grounds into sports complex and talent development centers. I'm thinking of looking for partners from outside who can help us develop these entities so that we translate them or transform them into entities which can generate their own operations in a sustainable manner. This will, on one hand, not only create employment for our youth, it will also reduce crime rate, and two, it will also help us